I want to start this video by saying thanks to everyone who commented on my first video and to give a shout out to the new subscribers. Welcome and thanks for being here. How often do you find yourself glued to your phone or tablet? Maybe you've even tried a digital detox. Well, sociologists Nguyen, Büchi, and Geber from the University of Zurich in Switzerland wanted to know what digital well-being actually means to people. They conducted a study in 2020 to see how people define balance in their digital life, what motivates them to disconnect, which strategies they use to manage their digital media use, and how these motivations and strategies vary across demographic groups. Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome to my channel where I take sociological research, break it down, and connect it to everyday life. Accessible and grounded ideas that help us see the world a little clearer. So how did they do it? They surveyed a national sample of over 1,100 Swiss internet users in November of 2020, asking questions about what a balanced digital media diet looks like, then asked participants about the reason for disconnecting and the strategies they use. And they broke responses down into patterns. And what they found might surprise you. So, what did they find? Well, about 31% of those surveyed said that balance was about amount, not spending too much time online. Another 26% focused on the benefits, like staying connected or getting useful information. About 13% said that digital life shouldn't take the place of face-to-face encounters, and about 12% talked about using tech purposefully. When it came to why people disconnect, 3 big reasons stood out. First, well-being and availability, wanting to be more present or less distracted. Second, content and privacy, being turned off by what they see online or being concerned about data collection. And third, social motivations, feeling pressured to respond, or the pressure from social circles to spend less time online. Now here's where it gets interesting. Age really mattered. Baby boomers were more likely to disconnect due to content and privacy concerns, while Gen Z and millennials were more likely to feel social pressures, like the need to respond to messages or notifications as soon as they pop up. And their strategies look different too. Older adults leaned on rules. They used strategies like putting devices away when doing other things, tech-free dinners, or leaving their phone at home altogether. And younger people were more likely to use built-in features like muting group chats or turning off social media notifications or putting their phone on Do Not Disturb. Gender played a role too. Women were more likely to disconnect for well-being reasons, and they leaned on household rules to limit tech more often than men. Education though? Surprisingly, that didn't make a big difference. People across levels of schooling managed their tech in pretty similar ways. Still, Nguyen and her colleagues point to previous research suggesting that digital detoxes are now becoming somewhat of a luxury. Folks with fewer resources who didn't have access to all of the benefits of being online in the first place are now the ones who can least afford to log off. So what does this data say? It suggests that disconnection, while on the surface is about screen time, can also speak to inequality, identity, and control. The way we set boundaries between work and personal life can signal who we are. If someone disconnects after hours to be fully present with family, this communicates that they're the kind of person who values relationships over constant availability. In other words, boundary setting itself becomes part of the self-concept. But this choice disappears if you don't have the privilege of being unavailable after hours, if logging off means losing income, like gig jobs that reward constant availability, or if you work multiple jobs or rely on government assistance, where stepping away could mean missing important updates or being cut off from essential services. In the case of control, the desire to disconnect can be about regaining control. Even the language of digital detox implies that tech is addictive or toxic, and stepping away is a way to reassert agency. The study also notes that some people disconnect not just for personal balance. but to resist digital media or big tech as an expression of both identity and self-reclamation. On a personal level, disconnecting can feel like taking back control of your attention and your well-being. But on a bigger scale, it's also about resisting control that platforms try to exert over us. And although this book isn't touched upon in the article, I think here it's worth considering Shoshana Zuboff's surveillance capitalism. Zuboff argues that platforms like Google, Facebook, and TikTok extract behavioral data to predict and shape our future behavior. She takes the old saying, "If you're not paying for the product, you are the product," and takes it a step further. It's not just you that's the product, it's your future choices. How well these data systems can predict what your next move will be and make sure you actually do it is the new commodity. So in that sense, being always connected isn't just a lifestyle. It means being an active participant in a system designed to capture attention, track behaviors, and monetize futures. Choosing to disconnect, even partially, is a way of resisting that identity that is being constructed for you. So while yes, it can be, "I just need a break," it can also be, "I don't want big tech defining who I am." The researchers end by looking ahead. They suggest that as more people wrestle with constant connection, we may see new norms around disconnecting take shape. What does it mean that young people lean more on feature-based methods? On one hand, these features can help people feel more in control, but on the other hand, they signal a shift. Instead of platforms reducing addictive design models or schools teaching digital literacy, the responsibility for digital well-being is pushed back on the individual and not onto the tech companies that profit from keeping us connected. In other words, the platforms that drive digital media overuse may now also brand themselves as the solution. So, what do we take away from all this? Nguyen and her colleagues show us that digital disconnection isn't simple. It's shaped by age, gender, privilege, social identity, the influence of tech companies, and the tools we have to manage our devices. So unplugging isn't just about screen time, it's about who gets to log off, how we define ourselves, whether we feel in control, and how systems profit from keeping us connected. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Hit the like button if you liked the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and sound off in the comments. I want to know, what's your strategy for disconnecting? Do you set rules, use app features, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them.